And we are live. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Respect the Craft. This is episode number 220 here, and I'm joined once again by the owner, booker, the main man himself from Invictus Pro Wrestling. We have Mr. Alex Accetta in the building. What's going on? Good afternoon, I should say. It's a little more of a earlier episode here today.
All good. Thank you so much for having me, Ray. I'm doing fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to have you on again. We have so much to talk about as it's finally happening. Invictus is coming back. It's New Year, fresh start here. So we definitely have a lot to discuss as we're getting closer to Warriors Code in just a little shy of 2 weeks away. So I can imagine the nerves are starting to hit. So let's get into that though. Let's talk about that because we've already asked you the question I ask everyone that comes on. So we've cleared that. We've cleared that's off our check. You got a good noodle for that answer. I'll steal Mr. James's phrase here. But let's go into this though. I do want to ask, coming back now, what was it that finally made you decide, you know what? It's time. We can finally do this again. Let's start kicking and rolling Invictus once again.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as that's concerned, it's really just the timing was right in terms of, I obviously I didn't want to go on a hiatus, but I had stuff going on in my personal life. Running a wrestling promotion is hard, to the surprise of some people. But I had stuff going on where, mentally, financially, I just couldn't commit to running it anymore. And, similarly, the people who I have on my team were all dealing with like their own stuff. So we kind of figured, and it sucks because we were coming up on our 3-year anniversary event. We had some cool stuff announced for that, but it was, I'd like to think that I try to be, I should say, the kind of promoter where I'm not going to try to make something work and end up, you know, screwing the people who are involved. I'm not going to be one of those, Gate was light, brother,
Gotcha.
type guys, and just, I'd rather, us pause and regroup and actually put on a show that we can be proud of. So, we took the winter off. The fall and winter off, which are, kind of like slower months anyway.
Yeah. Realistically, definitely for
Yeah.
shows, it's not unfortunately the best time, especially here in the Northeast. It definitely you see it affect. So definitely a good time to recoup, get the mindset where it needs to be. But also, it's giving you that time because now it gives you that idea of what to do when you come back. You've gotten to work alongside Titan Championship Wrestling now, seeing how they're running their day to day and how they're running their operation. So, is
Yeah.
that giving you also another new light onto how to bring back Invictus and what to do when it comes to moving forward with the company?
Yeah. The nice thing has been, I was considering when we announced a hiatus for Invictus, stepping away from wrestling like completely.
Yeah.
But I was, still doing commentary and still working with several different promotions. And I figured, well, I enjoy doing that. Why would I stop doing something that I enjoy doing? So I continued working with Titan down in Jersey, OCW, Outcast Championship Wrestling up in Connecticut, NFW at the Mecca. So working for those, it's great because it allows me to continue doing something I do. And also it allows me to scout talent that otherwise might not have come, across my path before. So now coming back, we're in a position where, we're continuing and trying to wrap up some storylines where now with this time off, there's this anticipation now. Stuff like the Jay Bougie, PJ Savage situation.
Yeah,
But
that's
at the same
definitely
time,
very a touchy one because even when you weren't around with this hiatus, Bougie was not too quiet on his feelings.
no,
He
of
was
course.
very much. He was still. We saw it this week. Shout out to my knucklehead fam. He was instantly just fuck you for some reason. And again, I
Yeah.
don't get it. You're very. We've been cordial. We've had conversations. I don't get why Bougie's feelings are this way. But again, those are his and his alone. I guess at this point.
Bougie's problem is that he can't separate the man from the entity. Bougie's problems are with Invictus. I wouldn't say they're necessarily with me, but he has a hard time differentiating the two.
Understood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. But again, it's surprising when right now he's currently holding one of the important pieces to Invictus. He's holding a championship at this point, and still his mentality with all this, it's very yeah,
Well, that's why I think he is the way he is, because he knows that he holds that title and therefore he has leverage over us to a
yeah.
degree.
Sure.
I think that's why he behaves the way that he does, because he knows he can get away with it.
Very much so. But here we go. Let me go to the chat for 1 second. We got VXS in the building. There you go with the shout outs there. We got Matt in the building. What's going on, Matt? You're but we go into this now. We go into Warriors Code now, and just for you, what how does this feel to now? This is coming together. This is happening. This will be live March 22nd here from Chestnut Street in Roselle Park, New Jersey, working alongside with Roselle Park there. How did that come together to be able to put together this event here with alongside with Roselle and be able to do something like this?
Yeah, so I got to give a shout out if he's listening to Chris Monroe, who used to be one of our referees at Invictus. He was a trainee of the Team 3D Academy up in Connecticut, where a lot of members of our roster trained. He has since gone on. He's a small business owner in Roselle Park. He owns an ice cream shop there. And he's also on the school board and the diversity and inclusion committee for Roselle Park. So that's where the connection came through. And we actually, during our hiatus, we did a charity show, a house show pretty much. That was back in October at Roselle Park. Um, it was it was a small show. It wasn't, very much like we were still on hiatus at that point, but it was, really just to help Roselle Park because I committed to that prior to, us announcing the hiatus. And I was just thinking as we were doing that show, like I would love to come back here because I was joking around and saying like, well, this is like Diet Invictus, I'd love to come back here and bring back like the full product because the youth center that they got there is a great venue. It's a great community that really, rallies behind to support anything that they're doing like this. So that's how that connection came about.
Oh, gotcha.
Um,
Okay. There you go.
yeah, because I was trying to figure out because the thing is like I love Jersey. I love running shows in Jersey. It's just that the market there, it's no secret. It's very saturated.
Yeah, especially just again, the amount of shows between the Mecca and just shows in general in
Yeah,
Jersey is definitely not the most. It's not hard to find a promotion in New
yeah, no,
Jersey,
definitely
so
not.
I could definitely imagine it's one of those where it's not a well, let's add on to it. It's more of okay, so what's going to separate us when we're
Yeah,
there?
I
So
figured if I was going to run in Jersey again, I would want to do it like partnered with some sort of like institution or organization
gotcha,
that already has kind of like a built-in audience, but can also sort of like help us out, um,
definitely.
by giving us the platform. And we're very fortunate enough that Roselle Park has taken us in.
No, that's amazing to hear, and again to see it now in the full potential of what Invictus can be, and see it with its full presentation. What will be happening on March 22nd? We definitely get into that in a little bit, but I do have to ask because I can imagine this is a question now. A lot of people are going to want to know. With that being said, when it comes to the future of Invictus, could we ever see it return to the Bronx? Though, could we ever see it return to NYC?
May 17th, we're going to be back in at the Bronx Brewery.
There you go.
Here first. I mean, I think we announced the date that we'd be back in New York. I don't know if we publicly announced that it's at the brewery yet, but yes, now
there,
it's at the brewery.
there you go. Officially now announced here. It will be there you go, guys. So just wait a little longer. There you go. Right after the Cinco de Mayo, you'll get your beers at Invictus. So
Yes,
come
sir.
through, have a good time with some Invictus Pro Wrestling back in NYC. And here we go. We got my sis in the chat. What's going on, Nat? Hello, hello. But now let's get into that. Let's start talking about this next great event here. Let's talk about Warriors Code. Let's start up with this one with a team that I know has been as much as Jay Bougie's been picking at your sides, this has been another one that's just been that thorn with Genesis here. And they'll
Yes.
be going head to head here with Memory Museum. And I can imagine again, this is a unbiasedly or a little biased. I can imagine Memory Museum here has that tale of, hey, let's shut up Genesis just a little bit with this one.
Yeah, for sure. So Genesis is a group that made their arrival at Invictus back in, I guess it was last spring. They formed at the In Bloom 3 event at St. Helena's. Genesis, the one thing that the members of Genesis have in common is that they have all been with Invictus since the beginning. Whether it was as actual in-ring talent or just, being young boys, paying dues, helping out, they've all been there since the beginning, and they formed this group with the shared goal of they're sick of waiting their turn, being lapped by some of these bigger, more established names that are over on Twitter or social media or whatever. And this is pretty much just the manifestation of their frustration with, hence the name Genesis, which they've chosen for themselves, because, they've been there since the beginning. So they've become a thorn in my side, calling me out, obviously. It's this recurring theme. People love to call me out for some reason, as if I'm like the puppet master pulling the strings here. So they've been on a warpath. They had a big 8-man war at our last Bronx Brewery show where they beat some of the Bronx's hometown boys in a bit of dubious circumstances, but they've been making a statement. Memory Museum, on the other hand, Joe Cruel and Abetteronis have worked for us in the past on pre-show matches, and they did our Rising Stars showcase, not last year but the year before in 2022. So they're kind of guys that I've been seeing just through the Mecca, coming up from when they were young boys, and then over the past year in particular, I've really started to see them branch out and come into their own, and start doing the drives and having bangers against a wider variety of opponents. So I figured with us coming back to New Jersey, and they're from that Union County area, so I figured now would be the perfect time. Come back. I'll help you guys by giving you a spot. You guys help me by kneecapping Genesis, and we'll all.
It's a win-win scenario there. It's
Win-win.
definitely a win. It's a win-win scenario. But that does now bring up the idea, because again, unfortunately, before the hiatus, it was almost there. It was almost a time where we could have seen the end of Genesis and Invictus, and just as a unit as a whole. Is that something where you and general manager Shane, is that still in an idea out there, or are we trying to have some peace with the new start of Invictus here?
Oh no, it's definitely something we're still talking about. Yeah.
I got you. Again, Ken Powers has been a friend of the show, so I'm trying to be neutral here. He's been okay with me when I've had him on. So
Listen, I'm very good, as a promoter or booker or whatever. I'm very good at like separating the person from the ideas.
yeah,
Like, Ken is a phenomenal talent.
he is. He
Say
very
that
much is.
every day. He's, I don't know what his problem is with me, but he's very good, very old school,
Yeah.
solid worker, but I don't know. It is what it is.
It's one of those where, again, I might not agree always with the tactics, but I can agree with the idea of sometimes anti-establishment. It works out sometimes. But again, I digress. Again, being neutral ground here, being
Yep.
neutral ground.
Yeah.
But hello, Randy in the chat. What's going on? Thank you guys for the support here. But we'll continue from there with the next contest I want to talk about, and that is this one with two great competitors here, singles action, as you have Trey Felipe and none other than the tracksuit terror himself, Dominic De Niro, in this one. Some singles action here. And I have to ask a little bit here, because we have Dominic De Niro in this one half, I believe, still of your tag team champions, no?
Yes, sir. This is going to be Dom's first singles match in Invictus, which is one of several reasons why I'm so excited for this match. So it's Dom's first singles match in Invictus. Trey Felipe is from Roselle Park. He's born and raised. He debuted at the charity show back in October.
Gotcha.
Figured, because I was familiar with him. I knew he was a great talent. I just kind of like needed that opening.
Right time, yeah. It needed that right time, right moment. That makes sense.
So I figured we're running in Roselle Park. Makes perfect sense to have him bring in. So he showed up, showed out, got a great, CM Punk in Chicago-esque, welcome. So I was like, all right, well, obviously I was like, if/when we come back, you are most definitely booked. So I figured, what can I do to really like take it to the next level. If we're
Gotcha.
bringing him back in front of that hometown crowd, what can we do to really challenge him? And Dom seemed like it would be an interesting styles clash. It seemed like it would be a real, hard hitting, intense contest. So I'm curious about that. And Dom has also stated that he has some things that he wants to get off his chest in terms of the tag team title situation.
Okay.
So I figure if he's going to be there, he's going to be in the building. We might as well, Dom and I go way back. I want to give him that space, that platform to.
I love Dom. He's a good brother. He's been a friend for years now. But Dominic De Niro with a live mic. That is gonna be. You mentioned the CM Punk situation.
Oh yeah,
That's gonna be
yeah.
That's gonna be interesting. But no, this match outside of that, this match alone is gonna be one to see. Both I vouch that are great talents, both on their own, have made just immense growths in their careers so far, and very are still young in their careers. As we look at both of them, they're still young, still very bright stars, and the future is bright for both of them. And this one right here is going to be hard hitting, is going to be that fast paced that Roselle's going to be in for a treat with this one. So
Absolutely.
I can't wait. I can't wait for that. But with that, this is another match I definitely been looking forward to for very, very, again, big reasons, big game reasons here, because making his official, again, second match back here in wrestling, it's going to be Big Game Leroy making his return to Invictus against TKO here, another member here of Genesis, and just that alliance there going head to head here with Big Game Leroy. And again, it's no secret. We talked about it here. We had Leroy on the podcast coming off that unfortunate injury. I can see it now. He's back. He's ready. He has that. He's in that mode again. He's in that nature of wanting to get in there. So talk to us how we get this match here, Alex.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we've had roster members get injured before, and it always sucks. But with Leroy being on the shelf for a year, like his absence was felt for sure. Not just in ring, but just his presence in the locker room. And he's really, again, you talk about people who've been here since day one. Leroy was on the very first Invictus show, and he's really become, just a part of the integral part of the Invictus family. So
Of course, yeah.
having him gone was rough for a while. And he was still, around, involved. He did commentary at the last Bronx Brewery show. So he's been around, but having him return to the ring is it's great. I'm super excited about it. I watched his match at Lab, his return match. So that was like a good way to, get his toes wet a little bit and get back in there with that big 10-man tag. But this is, singles return. And I wanted this match, his return match, to be something special. So that's why I chose to put him up against TKO. TKO is somebody who started out with us as a referee, wasn't even cleared to start taking bookings for wrestling at that time. And Leroy just sort of took him under his wing. I think Leroy has told me before that he sees a lot of himself in TKO. TKO reminds him of a young him. And I think now with TKO, having joined Genesis and sort of like strayed from that path a little bit, I figured now with Leroy cleared, this would be the perfect opportunity to put them against each other, both as a test for TKO. I think he would agree that this is probably one of his biggest matches yet. And also just to make Leroy's return as big and as personal as possible.
No, I definitely agree with that. And it's also, again, like you said, having that mentor-mentee relationship right there. And then just seeing, again, on his time away from the ring, seeing TKO now decide, well, I'm going to align with this group here who's been almost anti Invictus, with a company that I know Leroy has very much big feelings with. It is going to be one of those where, okay, not only is this that business side of things, but it's a little personal now. So it's going to be one to see next week in the next event there. But I was going to say next weekend because we have this man in the chat. Shout out to Billy Fetsky in the chat. Hello, hello. He's excited, as are we, to see the return of Invictus. But I was going to say next week because shout out to Billy and the whole family at Titan, as next week they'll be having a insane Saturday,
Yeah,
a
sweet.
whole day affair at Titan. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you get your tickets for all that. If you are a trained professional wrestler, also be there for, again, the free for all. That's going to be something that you're going to want to be there, get your opportunity, and see if you're on to that next level and get to that another level there, as it's going to be a whole day affair. It's going to be something, and you never know. We've seen a lot of talent from that get scouted and go to bigger places, go to everywhere. So we see them make it to the Chosen roster, to the Titan roster, and you'll have so many opportunities to get seen by not just Titan, but so many other promotions. I believe, Alex, you'll be representing, especially Invictus, there that day in scouting.
I am, yeah.
With
I was there last year, and Trey Felipe was one of the tryouts at last year's camp. So got on to Chosen, then Titan, and then Invictus. So
there you go.
there is a pipeline.
So it's just like that, ladies and gentlemen. So for anyone again that is listening, in terms of, again, competitors, you have that, you have the free for all, and then in terms of fans, again, get your tickets, be there for a night of a day of great action, because you have Danger Zone and then you have another level all in one day. So definitely be there and be in for some great talent. So here we go. We got Billy saying, "I appreciate it all. Not about Titan. Alex is gonna kill it with it." Oh, there you go. Again, we have to give the shout out to Titan as well. It's always been Titan strong here. So definitely we appreciate you, Billy.
Real recognize real. I appreciate you,
Definitely.
Billy.
There you go. There you go. But from that, we're gonna go into this one now, because we have a number one contenders match happening on the 22nd, as it will be a grand championship number one contenders match featuring the dastardly himself, Killian McMurphy, with Big Dust going head to head with Gabriel Sky here. And this is another one where I'm excited to see, because Gabe has been, again, seeing him throughout the years and seeing the evolution he's gone through has been insane to see. And then Killian McMurphy, who, as much as, again, it's his tactics might not be the best at times, they have produced results, and he still is one of, if not the best competitors going today.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm very stubborn when it comes to my booking, and I get very hyper fixated on certain matches that I want to see. So when something falls through, I will try to do it again and again until I finally make it happen. And this is an example of that. This is now the third time that I'm trying to do this match. Um, so knock on wood, whatever wood surfaces you have. But I am excited for this. The first time was Gabe unfortunately got injured. The second time, the show ended up being canceled. So now, we're knock on wood, everything's clear, no obstacles. But yeah, this is another match that these two have been on kind of a collision course for a while. They first their paths first sort of crossed back actually 1 year ago, last March, when we did the Friends Who Fight Rumble at our first brewery show. They Gabe and Killian both made it to the final four of that match, and then ended up eliminating each other. So brawled all the way to the back. The brawl continued in the locker room, and then a month later, last April at In Bloom, they were both involved in the Climb for Clout ladder match. And neither of them ended up winning that match, but sort of continued from there. And they've just, I think the main reason why I'm so interested to see this match is because Killian and Dust are so outlandish.
You don't say.
In and out of the ring, in the ring, on YouTube,
Yeah.
the theater stage, wherever they take their creative minds, they're always just doing some weird, what are they going to come up with next? And stark contrast to Gabe Sky, who is so disciplined and so just a student of the game, and such a stone cold killer. I'm just very much looking forward to what that interaction is going to be like one-on-one. And then just to take things up a notch, number one contender for the grand championship, I think that it's something that everyone can get excited about.
Oh, definitely so. And again, it just adds another level to this. Again, a matchup where, like you said, it's been this close from happening. They've gotten to touch in there already. It's not like this is
Yeah,
a first encounter where it's like, okay, yeah, they have this. This is this is the prize here. But no, they've had that moments in the ring. They've shared that, but it's now finally, again, knock on wood. Hopefully, it goes down on March 22nd, and you're adding that element to it again. You have the fighting spirit in there with Gabriel Sky. You have again Killian McMurphy, who technically sound is again he's great in there. He knows what he has to do when it comes to getting that victory, and then you add the element of Big Dust to again it's proven to get results. Not in the
yes,
best way, but it's proven to get results here. So it's going to be one to see. And again, adding that element now of the winner being the number one contender for that grand championship. Gold is definitely the goal for everyone here. So we're going to see what happens when it comes to these two on the 22nd there. There we go. We got Marlon saying hashtag Titan Strong. Billy showing us love. Thank you again, Billy. We love you too, brother. There we go. We got Joe saying yes, one of my favorite people. There you go. So there we go. Now, from that, we talk about the contendership. Now let's talk about that championship there, and that is the Grand Championship, as it will be the Invictus Grand Championship on the line. Defending champion Cash Flow Ken Broadway, head to head with everyone's favorite teacher here, Mr. James. And again, it's no secret to anyone these two are no strangers to each other, coming up from the same dojo system, both coming up from House of Glory here, and they're no strangers to each other. They've faced off before. This isn't anything new to each other, but it comes with how different they are now. This
absolutely.
isn't the Ken Broadway we knew from years ago. This isn't the same Ken Broadway Evander trained with at one point. This is now a whole new cash flow Ken Broadway who has been making his waves even in MOW as of late.
Hmm.
And now coming in here, still holding that grand championship. And then you have Mr. James, who has gone through his own metamorphosis. He has gone through so many stages of now finding Mr. James to be that standout now. And he's looking to bring the good noodles back to Invictus on March 22nd.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. So this match, very excited about it for the history, but also, as you said, the evolution that they both undergone. They've, I think they said it's been like 15 times since they've been in the ring together, but it's the first time match for these two incarnations of them.
Yes, yes.
And Evander James, Mr. James, he is somebody who is also involved in that charity event at Roselle Park, and he was over like Rover. I guess because it's a younger audience, it's a lot of school age kids in the crowd. They just loved the teacher shtick. They loved the stickers, and they were just firmly behind him. And he was able to put up a win over Nikolai White on that show, that charity show. So we figured if we're going to bring him back, similar to Trey Felipe, if we're going to bring him back, let's elevate the stakes. Let's actually put him in there and make this a big deal. Let's make this a marquee match. And who better than somebody who he knows very well. Cashflow Ken Broadway has been on an absolute hellacious run as champion. He's beaten all comers. He beat he beat Nikolai White. He beat Landon Hale, MV Young, Adam Brooks. A real who's who of.
I was gonna say that is a tremendous list right there, and again, not a easy path as a champion here, and that's what you want though. You don't want your champion to, once they are a champion, to become a slouch. It's one of those where it's the best of the best, iron sharpers iron, and we've continued to see that. And a match like this is one of those as well. And I agree with, we got friend of the show, friend of Invictus here. We got Pete in the chat saying Mr. James is not to underestimate here. If anybody knows how to take on Broadway, it's James, and that is true. Again, Evander James is going to be a tough opponent here. He has that mentality. He knows what to do in there with Ken Broadway. But again, it's that idea of, does he know this Ken Broadway now? Does he know the Ken Broadway that's been holding this grand championship? Does he know the Ken Broadway that's been defeating the likes of those competitors you've said there? And here we go. We got Joe asking for, is it still too late to ask for the conclusion to Gio Gavaldo versus Ken Broadway?
Damn, what could have been?
Oh,
That was a good feud that we had going there. It's too bad Gio decided to hang it up, but never
hey,
say never in this wacky world of pro wrestling.
I was gonna say we've seen crazier things, so you never know. You never know what could happen. But here we go. We got Pete saying Mr. James is everyone. He is. He's everyone's favorite teacher. Usually people
That's
aren't too fond of
that's
of
high
teachers.
praise because Pete and I both work as teachers as our shoot jobs, and we can both co-sign on that. Mr. James is the teacher that we both aspire to be, I think.
I will say though, as a commentator that's called Mr. James's matches, he's not too much of my favorite because he didn't want to give me a gold star, man. I gave him praise and I got no gold star.
What's up with
So
that?
I don't know, man. And I've known him for years. I don't know what happened. What did I do? But oh, there we go. We got Pete saying very much so. And then here we go. We got Matt in the chat saying, "Hey Alex." There we go.
Going
We
on,
got the love here for Alex in the building. But we've talked about that now. We talked about that reign when it comes to that championship, the number one contendership, all that good stuff. But there's another championship we have to talk about here, Alex. And I know again, it's the elephant in the room when it comes to this. He's he's front and center when it comes to the poster, and that is that social media championship. And it brings up the question of what will be happening with Jay Bougie when it comes to the Warriors code.
Mhm. So Jay Bougie and PJ Savage are both there. They're both on the poster, so they are going to be in the building. What exactly they're going to be doing that night remains to be seen, and a large reason why it remains to be seen is we were talking about Titan earlier. Jay Bougie and PJ Savage are scheduled to face off next Saturday in a 30-minute Ironman match for PJ's Titan World Heavyweight Championship. So, like I said, they're both signed to appear, but as a booker, I am waiting to see how things transpire next Saturday to figure out how to proceed.
Understood.
But I
Understood.
will say, regardless of whatever the outcome is going to be with this Ironman match next Saturday, um, I don't think that's going to mark the end of this war that has taken place over the years between those two men.
I have to agree with you there because again, we've seen just what this is. This has gone from promotion to promotion. This has gone from anywhere these two are at. The animosity is going to be there because again, they know each other so well. This isn't a just any two facing in there. It's two guys that were as close as brothers at one point. They took over the scene. They went to war against STP. They went to war against anyone that stood in their way, and now it's one of those where who knows you better than your own brother at this point, and these two are going to tear each other apart next Saturday. Again, we shall see where it goes from there. Again, it is like Alex said, they both will be in the building on March 22nd. Just it's going to be to be determined what will be happening. As it's better off this way again, so it doesn't have to. We don't have to use that little fine print on the bottom of each poster. Card subject to change. Again, just for anyone that's ever wondered, it's there. It's just very thin on the bottom of the poster. It's there. Card subject to change has to be on every professional wrestling poster.
Absolutely. Yep.
But oh, look at that. We have that. We talked about one half. Here's the other. Chris Barton in the chat saying live mic, eh? There you go. Again,
Yes.
that will be happening. Dominic De Niro will be with a live mic on the 22nd. So, but now you see how this is developing, Alex. How is it for you just seeing the reaction though? Because the minute it was announced that Invictus was coming back, you saw just a great reception from everyone getting to see the return here. How has that been for you now seeing how the reception has been for the announced cards so far?
It's been great. The I can't even properly articulate just how appreciative I am of all the love. When we posted the return thing, I remember I was actually at the Bronx Brewery when we posted it. I was there for trivia night, and just my phone just starts blowing up from all the notifications, everyone liking and sharing it, and I was so blown away It's like emotional. But I couldn't check my phone because there's no phones allowed during trivia because they don't want you cheating. So
That does make sense. That makes sense. It's but see, that is the perfect time to announce it because it's like, well, let's see how this is afterward.
it's like when you send a risky text to a girl you like, and then you like throw the phone down and walk away and do something else. Like, yep, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep, it's that one moment that it's like, oh,
Yeah,
wait, did it ring? Should I have said that? Oh,
yep,
and
yeah.
no, but I'm glad again. The reception has been great. Seeing it, this has been something that again, shout out to my fam at the Knuckleheads. We've been talking about getting to see Invictus come back. It's great to see. The card is insane, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. Again, it's the year's young still, so we're still just getting into March here, and definitely a lot more of Invictus to come.
Yeah, man. It's the sky's the limit. This is the setback or the comeback is greater than the setback,
Of
as they
course.
say.
Definitely. It's one of those that's always great to see. Look at this. There we go. I'm Matt saying I'm going to be there. Alex just made 3 signs for today. Ooh, there you go.
I,
He's got
I,
the
I
signs
did
ready.
see the Genesis sucks sign that Matt made, which I appreciate that a lot.
Again, I shall remain neutral and say nice sign, but yeah.
Yep.
Again, I have to do that again, just as the unbiased party here. I have to do this. But here we go. We got Pete saying the return of Invictus was always a matter of when, never if. We were all waiting with Vader. There you go. That's always. That, damn, Pete. Again, hashtag Genesis sucks always.
I'm very glad that this is coming up. As Genesis, oh
You gotta love that. Again, Pete just making sure to again not be too friendly with Genesis when it comes to March 22nd.
yep,
Like I said, I've been cordial with Ken Powers. He's been a good guest. We're trying to see if we could have some other members of Genesis on here as well. Get their side of the story. Again, I heard Ken's. I've heard now what your take on this, but we're gonna see if we talk to a little more Genesis and see if we can smooth some things out. Again, I feel like it's just a misunderstanding of things. That's all. That might be the only Genesis we acknowledge is Sega.
yes,
Touche.
Sega and the Phil Collins band.
That,
Those are the only Genesis that we acknowledge.
I feel like unfortunately a lot of people will forget that that was a band, but I would hope they still remember the Sega Genesis. But
Yes.
there you go, Pete. I'll agree with you there. But Alex, before I start letting you go, I do want to remind everyone, if they haven't already, make sure you follow Invictus on all of their social media there. Follow them on Instagram right there, Invictus Pro Wrestling. Follow them on Twitter at Invictus Pro Ray 1. And as always, the links to everything will be in the description down below, including the link to get your tickets for this event. Again, it's going to be stacked top to bottom. So much more to be announced as well. I love Pete trying to genocide. There's something there. It's something. It's multiple Genesis. Let's just say
Yes.
that, so that way
Yeah.
we can all agree that is one way to be able to say it. But Alex, thank you again so much for joining us here. This has been a pleasure. Again, we can't wait to see Invictus back in full and just full presentation there and see what's coming in the future for Invictus. Thank you again, brother.
Thank you, Ray.
And to everyone watching, as always, don't forget to be wise, be genuine, be real, be better people, respect the craft, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.